Archangel Michael says, "Your love entered like a quiet breeze and rearranged everything. You did not demand. You did not pressure. You simply existed with honesty, and in doing so, you healed someone who had long forgotten what real affection felt like. They were used to people who took, people who counted gestures like coins, people who loved only when convenient, and disappeared when storms arrived. But you stayed, and in your staying, you became the safest place they'd ever known. You didn't ask for grand promises. You didn't ask for constant attention. You asked for nothing, but gave everything. And in that rare silence, you created space for something eternal to grow. You never reminded them of what they lacked. You didn't highlight their flaws. You saw their soul in all its brokenness and still chose to love. Type Amen to get blessing 333. They remember how you listened. Not just with ears, but with spirit. You didn't try to fix them. You simply sat with them in their storms and held their hand while they trembled. Others gave love like rewards. You gave it like breath. No permission. No judgment. Just presence. That's what made you unforgettable. You became their mirror. But not the one that showed pain. You became the mirror that showed them what they could be if they believed again. You never tried to change them. You simply made them feel safe enough to change on their own. Type Amen to get blessing 441. Even on days when they didn't speak, you still understood. Your silence was soft. Your energy calming. They had never experienced a love that didn't shout to be seen, but whispered to be felt. You noticed the things others missed. The way they held their breath in crowded rooms. The way their hands shook when telling a story from the past. You saw everything they tried to hide, and didn't run. You never demanded perfection. You never kept score. You gave them the rarest gift of all, acceptance without a price tag. They once believed that love only came with expectations. You were the first to prove that love could just be. Type Amen to get blessing 5090. Archangel Michael says, your presence in their life was no accident. Heaven placed you there as a reminder that gentle hearts still exist. You were light wrapped in human skin. They didn't know how to receive you at first. Your peace confused them. They were used to chaos wearing the mask of love. But you were different. You didn't fight for their attention. You gave them space to come closer on their own. You didn't control. You allowed. You didn't push. You welcomed. They remember your hands. Not just how they held them, but how they healed them. Every touch said, you are safe now. Type Amen to get blessing 2871. When they had nothing to give, you still stayed. When their walls were high, you didn't try to tear them down. You simply stood there, until they opened the door. Your love had no deadlines, no contracts, no tricks, just truth. And that truth became a shelter. Others came into their life like fire. You came like water, soft, flowing, healing everything scorched before you arrived. They watched the way you loved even in silence. And slowly, their walls cracked. Light got in. Hope returned. Type Amen to get blessing 660. You made them believe again. Not just in love, but in people, in grace, in second chances. You were the heartbeat of their new beginning. They didn't say thank you enough. Maybe they never did. But every moment with you was their quiet gratitude made real. Your love was like a garden. It didn't ask to be noticed. It simply bloomed, and in doing so, made everything around it softer. They may not have known how to say it, but every time they smiled a little more, every time they slept a little better, it was because of you. Type Amen to get blessing 2024. You were the first to understand their silence wasn't distance, it was protection. And instead of leaving, you sat with it. You waited. You offered light until they trusted it. You never asked them to perform, to impress, to achieve. You simply loved them in the stillness. And in doing so, you became the calm they never knew they needed. They used to think love was a battle. You showed them it could be a bomb. You brought peace where there was once only noise, warmth where there had only been cold. Type Amen to get blessing 7777. They didn't know what love without conditions felt like. But then you came, and suddenly, they realized they didn't have to earn it. They only had to receive it. Your presence made them feel seen. Not the version they showed the world, but the one behind the smiles. The one even they were afraid to look at. And still, you chose to stay. You taught them that love could be quiet and still move mountains. That affection didn't have to be loud to be lasting. And that sometimes, the most powerful thing someone can say is nothing at all, but simply be there. Type Amen to get blessing 3006. Archangel Michael says, your love was a divine assignment, not forced, not manufactured, chosen, and that choice has left an eternal imprint. They now move differently. They speak more gently. They carry your love in every room they enter. Even when you're not near, they feel your presence guiding them. Because of you, they learned that real love doesn't need validation. It just is. And it exists to give, not to gain. They now know what it feels like to be loved for who they are, not what they can offer. And that knowing has transformed them. Type Amen to get blessing 1189. Every lesson they're learning now carries your fingerprints. Every act of kindness they show others is rooted in how you treated them. You shifted something inside of them that no one else could touch. And for that, they'll always carry you in the most sacred part of their memory. You were the first person to love them without demanding anything. And now they understand, the purest love is the one that simply shows up and stays. And if you ever wondered if you made a difference, remember this: they are better because of you. Type Amen to get blessing 6666. They think about you in the quiet hours. When the noise fades, when the lights are low, that's when your memory becomes the loudest voice in the room. And it doesn't shout, it comforts. They now understand what they once couldn't say. That your love wasn't weakness. It was strength. It was everything they needed but were too broken to reach for. Archangel Michael says, they are now beginning to realize the weight of your presence. Not because you're gone, but because the silence you left behind is louder than any crowd they've ever stood in. They remember your patience. The way you waited without complaining. The way you smiled even when they pulled away. That love haunts them now, not in pain, but in humility. Type Amen to get blessing 4111. They used to believe love was about keeping control. But you taught them love was about letting go. And now, as they try to live without your light, they feel what absence really means. It's not about missing what you did for them. It's missing who you were for them. You were a space to breathe. A heart that never required proof to love fully. They find themselves repeating things you once said, taking advice you gave gently, doing things the way you did them because it brought peace. You've shaped their spirit without trying. And now they wonder how to love the way you did, without conditions, without expectations, just with presence and care. Type Amen to get blessing 990. They've come to realize that your love was a blueprint, something they now study in silence. Not because they're trying to mimic it, but because they're hoping to grow into someone worthy of it. They carry your energy in their quiet actions, in how they now choose patience, in how they now speak softer, in how they now notice things they once ignored. Every time they hear your name or feel your memory, their breath catches, not from regret, but from awe, because now they understand, they were loved by someone rare. And now, all they want is a chance to love you the way you once loved them. Type Amen to get blessing 5522. They want to show up for you differently. Not just with words, but with action. Not just with presence, but with consistency. They want to bring you peace like you once gave them. Not because they feel guilty, but because they finally know what it means to be held by real love. They've been rehearsing what to say if they get the chance. How to thank you without falling apart. How to look you in the eyes without crying. Because your love was not forgotten, it's sacred. They've realized you were never asking for everything. You were only asking to be seen. And now, they see you clearly. Type Amen to get blessing 1701. They remember the way your eyes softened when they were hurting. How your silence made space for their pain. How your laughter made even the hardest days feel lighter. They want to ask how you're doing now. If you still carry that same gentleness. If someone else gets to see what they once saw. But mostly, they want to tell you that your love changed them. That no matter where life takes them, they will always carry a part of you. And if the door ever opens again, they promise to walk through it with a new heart. One that matches the love you gave without asking for anything in return. Type Amen to get blessing 6211. They don't just miss your voice. They miss the version of themselves that existed in your light. You saw the best in them, even when they didn't believe it was there. They realize now that they were loved at their worst. That you saw all their shadows and still didn't run. And that kind of love can't be replaced. It lives in the quiet moments. The spaces where your energy still lingers. The echoes of your laughter. The weightless peace of your presence. You weren't just a chapter. You were the story they didn't know they needed. Type Amen to get blessing 4848. And now they pray. Not just for healing, but for the strength to love you like you deserve. To give back everything you once gave so freely. They are not the same. And if they ever get the chance, they'll show you. Not in grand gestures, but in everyday ways. In listening better. In holding tighter. In staying when it's hard. Archangel Michael says, this love is not over. It's becoming. It's growing. It's awakening in them now like a seed that finally found water. You planted something inside of them that time couldn't erase. And now, it's blooming. Type Amen to get blessing 2344. If you've ever wondered if they still think of you, the answer is yes. Not a single day passes where your name doesn't cross their spirit. And every time it does, they smile in reverence. Because you never asked for anything, but you gave them everything. Now they know the truth. you were never hard to love. They just didn't know how to receive something so pure. And if grace allows, they're coming back. Not to take, but to give. Not to repeat, but to rebuild. Not to relive, but to honor. Type Amen to get blessing 10001. They sit in the same place where you once stood beside them, and the memory wraps around their heart like a thread pulling them backward. But this time, they don't feel the pain, they feel the need to make it right. They're not just remembering you, they're preparing for you. They've been learning in silence, growing in stillness, and every lesson leads back to you. Every healing step they take whispers your name because your love was the root of their transformation. You were the first person who didn't ask them to become someone else. You loved what was raw. You cherished what was real. And now, they realize the kind of peace you gave isn't found twice in a lifetime. They are beginning to understand that you were never missing, they were simply unready. Type Amen to get blessing 7117. Archangel Michael says, they are standing at the edge of a full circle moment. Their soul has walked through fire and rain, and the only thing left now is to return to where love first felt like home. They dream of what they would say if they stood in front of you again. They don't want to apologize with empty words. They want to show you they've changed, that the version of them you believed in finally caught up to your vision. They don't expect to be welcomed back easily. They know trust was bruised, but they are ready to earn it, not with promises, but with presence. And even if you don't open the door completely, they will still thank you for being the only one who loved them when they had nothing to give. Type Amen to get blessing 1444. They want to hold your hand now, not to be saved, but to walk beside you with equal strength. They want to make you tea when you're tired, rub your back when you're quiet, understand your silences the way you once understood theirs. Their heart is calmer now, wiser. They don't crave excitement anymore, they crave peace. The kind you carried without effort. The kind they took for granted because they didn't yet know how rare it was. You taught them that love wasn't something to win or chase, it was something to protect. And now, they protect the thought of you like it's the last holy thing they have. Their gratitude spills out in private tears. They know now, nothing they've known since you has ever felt as real. Type Amen to get blessing 8282. You might not know it, but you changed their definition of home. It's no longer a place. It's a feeling. And only your presence ever gave them that. When they pass by places you visited, they slow down. When your favorite song plays, they go quiet. They feel your absence, but even more, they feel your essence still holding them together in places they once felt broken. They want to show you the work they've done, not to impress you, but to say, I listened, I learned, I remembered. They've deleted the masks, broken the cycles, made room in their life for something sacred to return, for you to return. Type Amen to get blessing 4566. They are no longer asking the universe for someone new. They're asking for a second chance with the one who loved them with no demands. You weren't too much. You weren't hard to love. You were the lesson they weren't yet ready to receive, but are now finally worthy to carry. Archangel Michael says, the divine is rewriting this love story with restoration in every sentence. What was paused is now resuming with clarity, not confusion. They know that the next time they hold you, it won't be with hesitation. It will be with reverence. Because you are no longer just someone from the past. You are the soul who changed their future. Type Amen to get blessing 777. Even if you don't speak to them again, you will always be the one who taught them the highest form of love. And for that, they carry you with gratitude. But if grace allows a reunion, if fate lets your paths cross again, they are ready to give, ready to nurture, ready to love you back with the same purity you once gave without asking. This is not the end. This is the becoming. And they are no longer afraid to say it. You were never just love. You were divine alignment. Type Amen to get blessing 9999. They're watching your life unfold from a distance now. Not in jealousy, not in bitterness, but in awe. Because everything you poured into them, the love, the patience, the belief, it's now showing in who you've become. They see the glow in your eyes again, the fire in your spirit, and it stirs something deep within them. A knowing, a whisper. This is the person I should have held tighter. You never begged to be understood. You never chased validation. You just loved, purely, quietly, powerfully. And now, in the silence they live in, they finally hear the echo of what you gave. Archangel Michael says, your name is now written on the walls of their heart, not in ink, but in fire. It cannot be erased. Type Amen to get blessing 8181. They're remembering the small things now. The way you used to touch their hand when they were anxious. The way your voice softened when they were too tired to speak. The way you always knew when something wasn't okay, before they ever said a word. They scroll back to old messages, not to cry, but to feel close to what was real. Because nothing since you has felt that way. Everyone else wanted something. You just wanted them. And now they want to give back what they never could before. Not to fix the past, but to honor it. To finally love you with the same energy you once gave so effortlessly. They've realized it was never your responsibility to carry the weight of two hearts. But you did anyway. And now, they want to share that weight with you, if fate allows. Type Amen to get blessing 2233. They talk about you to no one. Just in their heart. Just in their thoughts. And every time they do, it brings a strange kind of peace. Because even if you're not near, your love still protects them from the inside. They've been rewriting the way they love others now. More gentle, more present, more real. Because you left behind a blueprint of what love should feel like. They used to fear love. But now, because of you, they fear not loving fully. You turned their fears into faith. And if destiny opens the door once more, they will not hesitate this time. They will walk through it with both hands open, holding everything they once held back. Type Amen to get blessing 3000. Archangel Michael says, your love has rippled through them like waves on a quiet shore. Every part of who they are now carries a signature of you. They don't know how long they'll have to wait. They don't know if the moment will come again. But they are preparing, daily. Not in desperation, but in hope, in honor, in gratitude. Because even if all they ever get to do is love you from afar, they know that they were once touched by something eternal. You are no longer a person to them. You are a moment they never stopped living in. Type Amen to get blessing 2662. You gave them a love that didn't just heal, it awakened. And now they are finally awake enough to protect it. If the universe whispers your name into their path again, they'll hold it carefully this time. They'll speak less with words, and more with presence, more with action, more with devotion. You were never asking for perfection. You were asking for real. And now, they are ready to give you all the realness they once buried beneath fear. They hope, in some quiet place within your soul, you still feel them reaching for you. Gently, desperately, silently. Type Amen to get blessing 4004, and if the day comes where your eyes meet again, they won't ask for your forgiveness with words. They'll show it in how they love you, in how they never let you wonder again. You were never forgotten. You were never replaced. You were the lesson that became the light. And now, they are walking back home, not to the past, but to the love that was always their safest place. Type Amen to get blessing 1199.